All right, we are working on reading, and I would like for you to get out your word root book, word roots, please. We are going to work on that. And we are on page 17. Page 17 in our word root book. All right, interrupt and disrupt. Very similar. What does it mean to interrupt? Can somebody give me an example of somebody or something interrupting? Olivia.
Like somebody's having a meeting and then somebody else just comes in and is talking.
Right. Or I'm up here talking and one of you just start talking out loud without raising your hand. Is that interrupting?
Yeah.
Yes. So what does disrupt mean? It's very similar. What does disrupt mean? So, if we look at the pictures, to be disruptive means you are being disrespectful and rude. So you look at somebody grabbed the sheet of paper from somebody's hand and started pulling on it, and then the paper starts ripping. That's being disruptive. When you are disruptive, you are being, I would say, a little out of control. So if you got up in the classroom and started running around the class during class time, that would be disruptive. If you went outside, we went outside in the playground and somebody was playing catch, which would be fun, but we can't play catch. But if somebody had a ball and they were playing catch, if you were disruptive, you would go grab the ball and run away. That's being disruptive. So you interrupt something and you're rude. It's kind of a rude act. What does rude mean? Jonathan.
Something mean?
Yeah, not kind. So you're kind of going out of your way to be rude and disrupting something that's going on. Somebody is having a conversation and talking, and someone comes into the conversation and just interrupts the conversation and is completely unkind. Maybe starts calling somebody a name or says unkind things. That's disruptive. Okay? So let's look on page 17, and we have some pictures. We have some pictures, and we need to decide if this person is being disruptive or if they're interrupting. So we see a picture of two grown men fighting over a sheet of paper. That's silly. Are they being disruptive or are they interrupting? Christian.
Disruptive?
Yes, so you could just put a D underneath that line. D for disruptive, I for interrupt.
No.
No.
No, you're not.
Looking at the pictures, not the sentences. So there are no numbers on the picture. So the boy, it looks like he's in the classroom, and he kind of has his hand raised, but I guess we're going to assume that he starts talking without raising his hand. Is that interrupting, or is he disruptive? It's kind of hard to tell by that picture, but we're going to assume that his hand is not up and he just starts talking. Grayson.
Interrupt?
Yes. So we have what is she? Oh, okay. So we have a poor woman who is trying to cook, looks like she's trying to cook something in the kitchen. She has a child screaming and hanging onto her leg. And she's trying to do something on the computer and someone's knocking on the door. Goodness sakes. That sounds like a nightmare. Is her life being disrupted or is she being interrupted? She's going to be both. But would you say that's disruptive or interrupted? Olivia. Yes. So, we have a boy jumping up and down around in the classroom, and he's got papers flinging all over the place because he's jumping on the desk, and a boy's blowing bubbles during class time. Wow. So, is he interrupting or is it disrupting? Jeremiah.
Interrupting?
No, he's more disruptive because he's being very rude. If you think about disrupting, it means that they're over the top, being crazy and just rude. Interrupting is too, but disrupting is just, if you think of it, it's just more intense. All right. That's an interesting picture. A police officer with many hands. I know, he's moving his hands.
Is there a human inside his shirt and he's sticking out hands?
I don't know, it's a very interesting picture. But, so we have cars and they look confused. I am too. So I see the police's crazy signals. So is it interrupting or disruptive? What do you think? Disruptive or interrupt? It's kind of an odd picture. It could be, I would say, the police officer isn't paying attention. So he's really not being interrupted. I think he's being disruptive because nobody knows what's going on. He's being very confusing. So it would be disrupt because he's not paying attention to the cars, right? And the people in the cars are extremely confused.
I'm confused too.
I am too. It's a very odd picture.
Yeah, very odd because you don't usually see a policeman that has 5 hands.
No, that's very true. And today we don't see too many police officers doing traffic control either. But I would say disruptive just because everyone's confused and he's not paying attention. So if he was being interrupted, then it would be interrupted. But he's just being disruptive because he's not paying attention to the cars. Everyone's confused. So the students it looks like they aren't paying attention. The teacher, 3 students are interrupting the class. So this would be interrupting. These pictures are really not that cohesive and understandable. Let's turn the page. So interrupt and disrupt. Does everybody understand what that means? All right, let's turn the page. That's why this is not my favorite book. Just saying. So we are on page 18. Lesson 7. Underline the prefix. What is the prefix? Where is a prefix located in a word? In the beginning or in the end? Prefix. Luke. Yes. So if we see prefix, see com, dis, ex, im, op, oppose, like oppose, AOP, and pro. Those are prefixes that are going to go in front of a word. So, if we use root pose, P-O-S-E, if you put C-O-M in front of P-O-S-E, I'm going to write this on the board. I think that will be much more understandable. If you have C-O-M as your prefix and pose as your root, and you put them together, what word are you going to get? Compose. Does anybody know what the word compose is? If you look at the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, those are definitions of impose, dispose, propose, compose, oppose, and expose. So, what would you say would be the answer to compose? To put out in the open, to reveal or make known, to place opposite of, to go against, to put together, as in creating a musical or literary work, to put forward an offer for consideration, to place apart, to throw away or to get rid of something, to place a burden on somebody, to legally place a punishment, fine, or etc. on somebody. Compose. Look at those definitions and see if you can figure out what that word means. Compose. I always think of composer. What is a composer? Does anybody know what that word means? Wensheen. Yes. A composer is someone who creates music. So if we know that little tidbit of information, what definition would you think would go with compose? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6? Jonathan?
3.
Yes. To put together, as in creating a musical or literary work. Compose, to create. So, on the line with 3, please write compose. Compose. Make sure you all see the whiteboard. All right. So, let's do the same thing with the next prefix, which is D-I-S, dispose. Remember, this is always going to be the root of all the words. What does dispose mean? To put out in the open, to reveal, or to make known. To place opposite of, to go against. To put forward as an offer for consideration. To place apart, to throw away, or to get rid of something. To place a burden on someone. Dispose. You're going to dispose something. What does that mean? James? 5, to place apart or to throw away. When you dispose of something, that means you throw it away. It's another word for throwing something away. Very good. So you're going to write dispose with 5. Expose. You expose something, what does that mean? I'm going to expose the situation. read the definitions: to put out in the open, to place opposite, to put forward as an offer of consideration, to place a burden on somebody. Expose, going to expose the situation. Dun, dun, dun. Owen.
Number 1.
To put in the open, yes. If you expose something, you are revealing it. Kind of like a mystery. You're going to expose, or if it's a secret, you're going to expose the secret to the public. Dun, dun, dun. Sounds very, very mysterious. So, now the prefix is I am. What is the word going to be? If I add I am to pose, am. Impose, impose. Does anybody have any idea what that is? Look at the definition. Impose, if I were to impose on someone, what does that mean? Look at the definitions. Jeremiah.
Into, that.
I'm sorry, what? What number?
Huh?
What number?
I was reading the definition.
What definition were you reading?
M.
Oh, yeah, in, into, or not. But what does the word impose mean? If you were to impose on someone, say I am going to go, I decide I'm going to go on a trip. And I'm going to drop Mia and Luna and Axel off at my friend's house. And knock on the door and say, hey, can you take my animals for a week? I'm going to go on vacation. If you read the definitions, which one fits that little scenario I just said? Everybody look at the definitions and focus and track. Emmy. Number 6. Very good. To place a burden on someone. Do you think if I went and dropped my 3 animals off at somebody's house, that would be a burden on them? Yes. Believe me. It would. So number 6 is impose. Impose. All right. OP. What is that word going to be if I put that with the root of pose? Jonathan.
2.
No, what is the word going to be?
Oh, oppose.
Oppose. And, thank you. So, and you said that it was to place opposite or to go against. That is correct. If you oppose something, you are against it. Okay? Oppose is against. So oppose goes with number 2. Jeremiah, draft. Did you write 2, oppose? All right, the last one is I can get my cap off, thank you. Pro, if you put that with the root word pose, what word does that make? Focus, please, friends. Everyone's hand should be up. What word is that going to make if I put pro with pose? Luke. Propose. And gosh, what is the definition since we have only one left? Everyone's hand should be up. What does this mean? Propose. Sam, which one do we have, what definition do we have left over?
To place opposite of to go against.
Nope, that's oppose.
To put forward as an offer for consideration.
Absolutely. Propose is to put forth an offer. So, if you are proposing something, you are going to have an idea, and then you're going to take it to somebody else and propose this idea to them to see if they go along with it. Who's ever heard of the word proposal? That's making an offer too. What kind of offer is proposal? Owen. Yeah. So, very good, friends. Those are all some difficult words. They're not the easiest of words. So let's do activity B on page 19. Complete the best word for the choice box on the previous page. So you're going to use the same words: impose, dispose, propose, compose, oppose, and expose. So we now know what each word means. So now you're going to go on page 19, and you are going to fill in the blanks of the sentences. Which is the correct one? Quinsheen, please stop. So let's do number 1 together. The government had to blank a tax on all imported goods. Which one do you think that would be? Are they going to impose, dispose, propose, compose, oppose, or expose? What did you say? I just didn't hear you, sweetheart. I didn't. Talk loud. Olivia.
Number 2.
Dispose. So remember, we're filling in the words that we have that's in the little.
Oppose.
Remember, oppose means you're against it. So the government had to blank a tax on all imported goods. James.
Expose.
No, that means showing the truth. It means something is being exposed. What does impose mean? Who remembers what impose means, Owen? Which one is impose?
To place a burden on someone, to legally place a punishment, fine, etc. on someone.
So, imposing a tax is going to be a burden on the people who are being taxed, right? So we as the American people, when a tax is being put upon us, or another country whose taxes the imported taxes are going to be put on them, it's a burden. So it would be imposed. The government had to impose. To place a burden on somebody. Their main concern was how to blank of the toxic waste. So when you have toxic waste, what are you going to do? Are you going to compose it into music?
No.
Are you going to expose it for being toxic waste?
No.
Are you going to impose some burden on them or propose a deal with them? What are you going to do with toxic waste? Everybody look at the words and focus on what we're doing. Grayson.
Dispose?
Yes, you're going to dispose of it. You're going to get rid of it. Yuck. you. Number 3, they didn't want to blank their small boat to the dangers of the open sea. We've been talking about this yesterday, about small boats in the ocean. So, do they want to dispose their boat into the open sea?
No.
Propose their boat to the open sea? Compose music in the boat in the open sea? To oppose the ocean when they go out to in the open seas? No.
No.
Expose their boat to the open sea?
Yes.
Yes. They didn't want to expose their small boat and go into the open sea. I think that's very smart. Would not want to do that either. The poet was hoping to what? 2 new sonnets. And everyone's hands should be up on this one because that one's probably the easiest one to remember. You want to what? The poet, the writer, or you could say the musician, wanted to what? 2 new sonnets. James.
Compose.
Yes, compose. Remember, composing is either music or writing. Jonathan,
What's a sonnet?
what's a sonnet? That's like a poem.
Oh.
All right, so the local residents were planning to what? The closing of their hospital. Would that be a popular thing to happen in your society or your city if your hospital was going to close? No. So what would you want to do if somebody was trying to close your hospital? Would you want to propose to them?
No.
Would you want to make music for them?
No. It'd be nice.
Would you want to dispose of them? Well, maybe, but that wouldn't be a good idea. What do you think would be the proper word? Do I know, impose upon them? Well, maybe, but what is the proper word in this case? If they're trying to close something that you don't want closed, what would be the proper word for that? What is the word for something that you do not agree with or you go against it? Emma. Focus. Gabe.
Oppose?
Yes. Oppose. Aw. Everyone wanted to what? A toast to the bride and groom.
What? What does that mean?
What? Just saying the word bride and groom makes you ew?
What does that mean?
Bride and groom?
No, I know that. I mean, what is toast?
Well, that's a toast is lifting up a glass and say, "Here is to the bride and groom. May they have a long and happy life." Yes, and to make it even better, what James was doing, you click your glass and make them kiss. Oh my gosh, you guys are too funny.
I need to get out.
All right, so let's focus. Turn around, track. So after that, don't even know what it is, but all right, everyone wanted to blank a toast to the bride and groom. What would be the proper word for that? Grant. Propose. Click, click, click.
Now we can't
your book did.
Now I feel so disgusted.
Oh, why is that disgusting? Oh my goodness.
I don't know why this book.
You guys. All right, we're going to put the word roots away. You guys are too easy to get grossed out with.
I know. I can't.
Just the word kissing makes you all squirm. Oh, you guys are too easy. Too easy. All right, so now we are going to read. So I want my virtual friends to read Charlotte's Web.